I have not run an electric dryer in 18 years. I want to let that land for a second before I say anything else. 18 years, not occasionally, not in the summer when it is nice outside, not as an experiment or a challenge or a lifestyle statement. Every load of laundry I have done since 2006 has been dried without a dryer. Every shirt, every towel, every sheet, every pair of jeans, every piece of winter clothing, through rain, through snow, through February in Ohio, where I live, for 18 consecutive years. My name is Franny, and the electricity I have not spent drying laundry in that time amounts to roughly $7,200 at average American residential electricity rates. That is not a rounding error. That is a used car. That is a year of college tuition at a community college. That is $400 a year, every year, that the appliance industry and the electricity companies would very much prefer you to keep spending, and that I have not spent since the year my youngest daughter started kindergarten. I am going to tell you today exactly how I do it, why the clothes that have never seen the inside of a dryer in my house are in better condition than anything you own that has, and why the story the appliance industry told American households about clothesline drying being old-fashioned, inconvenient, and inferior is one of the most successful pieces of consumer manipulation in the history of American home goods marketing. Stay until the end, because the last thing I am going to tell you is the method for getting line-dried clothes soft without dryer sheets. And it is going to change what you think about what dryer sheets are actually for, because it is not what the packaging tells you. But first, I need to give you some background that the dryer aisle at any appliance store has never wanted you to know. The electric clothes dryer was introduced to the American residential market in the late 1930s. Before that, every household in America and every household in every country on earth dried its laundry by hanging it in moving air. Clotheslines were in every backyard. Drying racks stood in every kitchen and mudroom. The knowledge of how to dry laundry without a machine was as basic and universal as the knowledge of how to cook food. Nobody sold it to you. Nobody charged you to do it. It was simply part of what it meant to keep a house. The appliance industry needed to change how American households thought about clotheslines in order to sell them dryers. And they did change it. Over the course of 2 decades, the 1950s and 1960s, clothesline drying was repositioned in American advertising and popular culture as something old-fashioned, rural, and slightly embarrassing. Dryers were positioned as modern, convenient, and evidence of having arrived at a middle-class standard of living. Some homeowners associations actually banned clotheslines during this period, an achievement that required both industry lobbying and a cultural shift that made visible laundry seem undesirable to a prosperous neighborhood. By 1970, the electric dryer was a standard appliance in the majority of American homes, and the knowledge that every woman in America had carried for generations, the knowledge of how to hang laundry properly so it dries efficiently, comes out soft, smells clean, and retains its integrity, began to disappear from one generation to the next for the first time in human history. Here's what that knowledge actually was. The first thing to understand is that a clothes dryer does not clean laundry. It does not freshen it. It tumbles it through heated air until the moisture evaporates, and in the process, it subjects every fiber of every garment to mechanical friction and heat stress that degrades the fiber at a molecular level with every single cycle. The lint trap in a dryer collects the evidence of this degradation. That lint is not dirt. That lint is your clothes. It is the fiber material being abraded from the surface of your fabric with every tumble. Every load of laundry that goes through a dryer is a load of laundry that comes out slightly shorter in lifespan than it went in. Clothes dried without a dryer do not experience this abrasion. A garment that has never been tumble dried retains its fiber integrity, its shape, its color depth, and its structural strength far longer than an identical garment that has been machine dried. This is not an opinion, it is physics. Independent textile researchers at Fabric Science Laboratories have documented measurable fiber degradation after as few as 50 dryer cycles in cotton and synthetic fabrics. After 100 cycles, the degradation is significant enough to affect the hand feel and structural integrity of the garment. The appliance industry told you that dryers are easier on clothes than line drying. What they did not tell you is that every load of laundry you run through a dryer is money leaving your electricity account, money leaving your clothing budget because your clothes are wearing out faster, and money going to the lint trap, which is the literal disintegration of your wardrobe one cycle at a time. Now, let me tell you the actual system, not the romantic idea of laundry on a line in a summer breeze, the practical all-weather 18-year tested system that works in February in Ohio just as well as it works in July. The foundation of the system is understanding that laundry dries from airflow, not from heat. Heat accelerates evaporation, which is why a dryer works. But moving air alone evaporates moisture from fabric quite efficiently, even at low temperatures, as long as the airflow is consistent. The outdoor line works in winter because cold, dry air has very low absolute humidity. It is thirsty for moisture and it pulls water out of fabric even when the temperature is below freezing. Fabric hung outside at 20 degrees Fahrenheit in dry air, and a light wind will be dry in 4 to 6 hours. I know this because I have done it hundreds of times. The indoor drying system that handles the days when outdoor drying is not possible, sustained rain, ice, high humidity, or any other condition that prevents outdoor drying, is the other half of the equation. This is what most people get wrong when they try to stop using a dryer. They hang laundry on an indoor rack and it stays damp for days, develops a musty smell, and they conclude that dryer-free living is not possible in their climate. They are right about the problem and wrong about the cause. The problem is not the absence of a dryer. The problem is stagnant air. Wet laundry hung in a room with no airflow will not dry efficiently regardless of temperature. The air immediately surrounding the wet fabric becomes saturated with water vapor and stops drawing moisture out. The solution is the same solution your grandmother used: move the air. A single box fan set on low, positioned to blow across an indoor drying rack rather than directly into it, provides enough air movement to dry a full load of laundry indoors in 4 to 6 hours at normal room temperature. The fan uses about 60 watts of electricity. Compare that to the 3,600 to 5,500 watts that an electric dryer draws during a standard cycle. You are using roughly 1/60th of the electricity. The exact indoor drying setup that I have used for 18 years, 2 folding wooden drying racks, the kind that can be found at any home goods store for $12 to $15 each, positioned parallel to each other, about 18 inches apart. A $20 box fan sat on low, positioned at one end of the racks, blowing down the length of both racks simultaneously. Every item hung on the racks individually, not overlapping with the heavier items, jeans, towels, sweatshirts at the end closest to the fan, lighter items at the far end, shirts hung by the hem so the collar does not stretch from the weight, socks hung by the toe so the cuff keeps its shape. Total equipment cost, approximately $50, purchased once, in use for 18 years. Now, I want to be honest with you about what this system does not do, because I would rather you trust me than be impressed by me, and omitting the limitations would make me someone trying to sell you something rather than someone trying to actually help you. The indoor drying system adds time to the laundry process. A dryer takes 45 to 60 minutes. Indoor drying takes 4 to 6 hours. If you are in the habit of starting a load of laundry in the morning and folding it before dinner, the system works perfectly. If you need laundry dry in an hour, this system does not work, and I am not going to pretend otherwise. For households with very high indoor humidity, climates where indoor relative humidity stays above 65 to 70%, even in winter, indoor drying without a dehumidifier running can be slower than I have described and can contribute to elevated indoor humidity and mold risk if the space is poorly ventilated. If you live in a high humidity coastal climate or a basement apartment with existing moisture issues, running a dehumidifier alongside the drying rack offsets this completely. And a dehumidifier draws significantly less electricity than a dryer. But I want you to know that consideration exists. For people with physical limitations that make hanging and removing laundry from racks difficult, this system may not be practical at its full implementation. There are modified approaches, a lower clothesline height, a single compact rack for smaller loads that reduce the physical demand, and I am happy to discuss those in the comments. But I want to be honest that the full system, as I run it, requires some physical mobility. These are real limitations, and I am not glossing over them. Now, for the question that everyone asks, and that I have been promising to answer since the beginning of this video, how do line-dried or rack-dried clothes feel soft? Because the honest answer to why people use dryers has less to do with the speed and much more to do with this. Line-dried clothes can come out stiff, particularly towels and denim, and people find that unpleasant and conclude that a dryer is necessary. The stiffness is real. Here is exactly what causes it and exactly how to prevent it. Fabric stiffness after air drying is caused by two things. The first is mineral deposit. When water evaporates from fabric, the dissolved minerals in the water, calcium, magnesium, iron, depending on your water source, are left behind on the fiber surface. Hard water produces more mineral deposit and therefore more stiffness than soft water. The minerals themselves are what create the stiffness, not the drying process. The second cause is fiber alignment. When fabric dries without the tumbling action of a dryer, the fibers in the fabric align and lie flat rather than being constantly agitated into a random orientation. This gives air-dried fabric a more structured feel than tumble-dried fabric, which some people experience as stiffness and others experience as crispness. Here is the solution to both causes, and it costs about 3 cents per load. Add half a cup of white vinegar to the rinse cycle of every load of laundry in place of fabric softener. The acetic acid in the vinegar neutralizes the alkaline mineral deposits left by hard water on the fabric fiber surface. This alone eliminates approximately 80% of the stiffness that people attribute to line drying. The fabric rinses clean with no vinegar smell. Acetic acid is volatile and evaporates completely during drying, and the mineral deposits that were causing stiffness are dissolved and rinsed away with the final rinse water. For the remaining stiffness from fiber alignment, a 30-second vigorous shake of each item as you remove it from the rack before folding breaks the fiber alignment and softens the hand feel substantially. This is the technique that women who dried laundry without machines for centuries used as a matter of course. You shake the item out, give it a sharp snap, and the fiber orientation loosens. That 30-second action per item replaces 45 minutes of electricity expenditure. For towels specifically, which are the item most people find unacceptably stiff when line dried. Vinegar in the rinse cycle, removal of all fabric softener residue from previous washes, which takes 2 to 3 washes with vinegar to fully strip, and a vigorous snap before folding produces a towel that is genuinely soft. Not as uniformly fluffy as a drier tumbled towel because the pile is not fully elevated by tumbling, but soft and absorbent and not stiff. Within 1 to 2 weeks of switching to vinegar rinse, most people find that the softness is comparable to what they were achieving with dryer sheets and fabric softener combined. Here's the part about dryer sheets that the dryer sheet industry has every incentive not to explain to you. Dryer sheets coat fabric with a thin layer of lubricating chemical, typically a quaternary ammonium compound, that reduces the friction between fibers when they tumble against each other, which is what makes fabric feel soft coming out of a dryer. This coating also neutralizes static electricity, which is generated by tumbling in a heated drum. Both of these effects are artifacts of machine drying that would not exist if you were not using a dryer. Static electricity from line drying is non-existent because static is generated by friction in a heated environment. Dryer sheet softening is a solution to a stiffness problem that the dryer itself creates. In other words, dryer sheets are a product that solves a problem caused by the appliance that the dryer sheet is used with. You are buying a solution to a problem that a machine created, and the machine is owned by an industry that also profits from the electricity the machine uses and from the shortened lifespan of the clothing the machine degrades. White vinegar at half a cup per load in the rinse cycle costs approximately 3 cents. A dryer sheet costs approximately 25 cents. Over the course of a year, at 8 loads of laundry per week, the vinegar costs about $12. The dryer sheets cost about $104. The electricity for the dryer costs about $400. The early replacement of clothing due to dryer accelerated fiber degradation is harder to calculate but is real and is documented by independent textile researchers. Your grandmother did not use dryer sheets. She did not need to. She used vinegar in the rinse cycle. She shook her clothes out before folding them, and the laundry she produced was clean, soft, and intact in a way that the laundry coming out of modern American dryers is not, even though modern American laundry has the benefit of dryer sheets, fabric softener, and whatever else the cleaning products industry has invented in the 70 years since clotheslines were declared old-fashioned. Now let me tell you about the outdoor system, because even if you are not going to give up your dryer entirely, adding outdoor line drying on good weather days recovers a significant fraction of the $400 a year that the dryer is costing you, and it costs nothing to implement. The basic outdoor clothesline setup, a length of cotton or synthetic clothesline rope stretched between 2 fixed points at a height that allows your longest items to hang without touching the ground. The ideal height is slightly above head height, 68 to 72 inches, which allows good airflow beneath the hanging items and makes loading and unloading easy. A standard clothesline length of 20 to 30 feet accommodates a full load of laundry from a standard household washer. 2 parallel lines 18 inches apart double the capacity. Total cost, clothesline rope at about $8 for 50 feet and 2 line support posts if you do not have a fence or deck railing to attach to. A portable line tensioner costs about $4 and prevents rope sag over time. The Amish approach to clothesline management that makes the system practical in any weather condition, multiple lines at different heights, angled to catch prevailing wind, with the heaviest items on the windward end and lightest items on the leeward end. A pulley system attached to a fixed point that allows you to load and unload the line without walking its full length. This is the system that allowed a single woman to manage 8 to 10 lines of laundry for a large household without constant trips back and forth. The pulleys cost about $6 for a set and take 20 minutes to install. For items that should not go in direct sun, dark fabrics, wool, any dyed item where color stability matters, a shaded line or an indoor line near a window with good indirect light produces drying times only marginally longer than a direct sun line, without the UV fading that direct sun causes over time on colored fabric. Bright colors faded by direct sun are another form of appliance-adjacent clothing damage that the dryer sheet and laundry care product industry has no incentive to address. The system that keeps this practical through an Ohio winter for outdoor drying temperatures above about 20 degrees Fahrenheit with any air movement will dry most items in 4 to 6 hours. Below that, or in sustained precipitation, the indoor rack and fan system takes over. There are about 30 days a year in my climate where outdoor drying is genuinely not possible. Sustained freezing rain, or conditions where the outdoor humidity is high enough that drying would take more than 8 hours. On those days, the indoor system handles everything. The remaining 335 days of the year, outdoor drying, indoor rack drying, or a combination handles every load. I have not found a season, a climate condition, or a type of laundry in 18 years that the system could not handle. Including the winter, my furnace went out for 3 days and my indoor temperatures dropped to 52 degrees. Laundry dried in 8 hours instead of 6. I folded it in front of a space heater and moved on. This Saturday morning, I want to suggest one thing you can do without spending $1 or committing to anything. Take one load of laundry, just $1, and instead of putting it in the dryer, hang each item on a hanger and hang the hangers from the rod of a shower curtain, or lay items flat on a clean surface, or drape them over the backs of chairs near a window. Add half a cup of white vinegar to the rinse cycle before you do this, so the mineral deposits are neutralized. When the laundry is dry, give it 4 to 6 hours. Pick up each item and give it a firm 30-second shake. Then fold it and feel it. You will notice 2 things. The fabric feels different from your dryer laundry, more structured, less fluffy, but not stiff if the vinegar did its work. And the items that dry flat or hanging retain their shape better than items tumbled in a heated drum because they have not been subjected to the shrinkage and fiber stress that heat and friction produce. One load, no investment. Just see what it feels like to have your laundry in the same condition that every American household had it in before 1950, when the dryer industry decided that 100,000 years of air drying was old-fashioned and that you should pay $400 a year to do it differently. Drop in the comments and tell me whether you have ever tried line drying, and if you have, whether it worked. Tell me your climate and your setup. I want to know what has worked and what has not worked for people in different parts of the country, because this system looks different in Arizona than it does in Ohio. And I would like this comment section to become a real resource for the people reading it. If this video changed how you think about what that machine in your laundry room is actually costing you, hit that like button right now, because this kind of research takes real time, and every like tells the algorithm that useful knowledge deserves to be seen. To